Fear prefers closed rooms. It prefers unspoken thoughts, unshared burdens, unanswered questions. It grows best in silence, because isolation distorts perspective. When you're alone with your thoughts long enough, fear becomes louder than truth. Anxiety becomes more convincing than promise, and imagination begins to write stories God never authored. Isolation magnifies everything. A small doubt feels like a theological crisis. A temporary setback feels like permanent rejection. A passing emotion feels like identity. Fear thrives there. But faith grows in community. Fear loves darkness. Not physical darkness, relational darkness. It loves when you think, I can't tell anyone this. They wouldn't understand. I should be stronger than this. If they knew, they'd think less of me. So you hide the struggle, you edit your vulnerability, you perform strength, and the silence becomes a greenhouse for anxiety. But Scripture repeatedly shows us something different. In Genesis, Adam and Eve sinned, and their first instinct was hiding. Fear drove them into isolation. Sign isolates, shame isolates, fear isolates. But God's first question was relational. Where are you? Not because he didn't know their location, but because he was confronting their isolation. Fear says, hide. God says, come into the light. Elisha is one of the clearest examples of isolation-fed fear. After calling fire down from heaven, after defeating the prophets of Baal, after witnessing undeniable power, one threat from Jezebel sends him running. He hides in a cave, and he says something revealing. I alone am left. Fear had rewritten the narrative. He forgot the fire, he forgot the victory, he forgot the crowd, he forgot the miracle. Isolation erased memory, but God responds with correction. I have reserved 7,000 who have not bowed. Translation: you are not alone. You were never alone. Fear lied to you, and it still lies to us the same way. You think, no one else struggles like this. No one else has this doubt. No one else feels this pressure. But that's isolation talking. When fear is shared, it shrinks. James says to confess your faults to one another and pray for one another. Why? Because confession pulls fear into light, and fear cannot survive prolonged exposure to truth. There is something powerful about hearing someone say, I've felt that too. I've walked through that. I survived that. God brought me out. Suddenly the mountain looks smaller. The storm looks survivable. The pressure feels temporary. Faith multiplies in proximity. Just like doubt spreads in isolation, courage spreads in community. God did not design believers as independent units. He designed a body. And bodies survive because strength circulates. When one part is weak, another compensates. When one part is wounded, another supports. When one part rejoices, others celebrate. Isolation cuts circulation. And what happens to a limb when circulation stops? It weakens, it withers, it becomes vulnerable. Spiritually, the same thing happens. Isolation doesn't just feel lonely, it weakens discernment, it amplifies insecurity, it exaggerates threats. But in community, strength moves. Your faith might be low, but someone else's is strong. Your clarity might be dim, but someone else sees clearly. Your courage might be tired, but someone else can stand with you. Faith is strengthened when shared. Darkness creates distortion. If you've ever walked through a dark room, ordinary shapes look threatening. A coat becomes a figure, a shadow becomes movement, a sound becomes danger. But when the light turns on, nothing in the room actually changed, only visibility did. That's what community does. It turns on the light. Then you realize, this isn't as big as I thought. This isn't permanent. This isn't unique. This isn't fatal. Fear thrives on secrecy. It weakens in exposure. Bring the struggle into prayer. Bring it into accountability. Bring it into conversation. Fear loses oxygen when truth is present. Even Jesus did not walk alone. He gathered disciples. He brought Peter, James, and John closer in key moments. In Gethsemane, he said, "Stay here and watch with me." If the Son of God invited companionship in his moment of pressure, why do we think we're above needing it? Community is not weakness, it is design. The early church thrived not because they avoided persecution, but because they stood together. They broke bread together, they prayed together, they suffered together, they rejoiced together. And Scripture says they were strengthened daily. Faith grows in shared space. The enemy isolates before he intimidates. Predators separate before they attack. Spiritually, the strategy is the same. If fear can separate you from encouragement, separate you from correction, separate you from truth, it becomes easier to manipulate perception. But unity is disruptive. Two are better than one. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. When fear hits and you reach out instead of retreating, you break the cycle. Instead of shrinking inward, you step outward, and courage grows. Fear exaggerates solitude. But heaven always has reserves. Like Elijah's 7,000, like unseen prayers, like unnoticed support, like quiet intercessors. You may not see the network, but God has woven one. Sometimes faith grows simply because someone else believed for you when you couldn't. Sometimes courage is borrowed until yours returns. And that's not weakness, that's design. If fear has been growing in your life, ask yourself, what have I kept silent? What have I hidden? Who have I pushed away? Where have I withdrawn? Isolation feels protective, but it often becomes imprisoning. Community feels vulnerable, but it becomes strengthening. Bring fear into light, speak it, pray it, share it, confess it, and watch it shrink. Courage spreads, testimony spreads, hope spreads, confidence spreads. When you sit around people who speak life, your internal narrative shifts. When you hear stories of deliverance, possibility expands. When you worship together, atmosphere changes. Faith grows in shared air. So don't retreat, don't isolate, don't disappear. Step into connection. Because fear thrives in isolation, but faith grows in community. And you were never meant to fight alone.